Hi, everybody. Welcome along to episode 147 of Percussion Discussion. As usual, I'm going to ask you to please check out all of our social media. You'll find us on Facebook, Instagram, give us a like, a follow, whatever it takes. And of course, there's our wonderful YouTube channel where you can find all of our conversations, past and present. And these will have the video to accompany. There are no adverts on there, so you can just sit back and enjoy them. Please subscribe, though. We're getting close to 2,000 subscribers now, so I'm really keen to hit that mark. So if you could do that, really helps grow the channel. Thank you. If you'd rather listen on the go, then all of our conversations are available in podcast form. These are free to download from your favorite podcast providers. So if that's your thing, you know what to do. On to today's guest. I am genuinely and absolutely 100% thrilled to have this gentleman on. He was probably in the first 4 or 5 people I asked to do it, but he's a busy guy, so we just never quite managed to make it work. But our stars have aligned, and we got it done. Now, this gentleman has played for some stellar acts, the Rap Assassins, Black Grape back in the day, Hanson, a huge stint with Peter Gabriel. He's been playing with Clannad recently, Afro-Celt sound system. The list goes on and on. There's Tom Jones is in there, Shakespeare's sister, Suggs, Chrissie Hynde, Natalie Imbruglia. You know, goes on and on. And we don't hear much from this fine drummer. He doesn't have much of a social media presence, and he won't mind me saying that. He's a really good friend of mine as well, which makes it even better to introduce the wonderful Mr. Ged Lynch.
You're welcome, and you're very kind, very generous.
And this has been I haven't hounded you for a while, but I think at the very start of the podcast, you were in my first 5 to get, and you're a busy man, and I'm just so glad that finally, the stars have aligned and we're here to do it.
Yeah, it's a treat. Yeah,
you're not known for doing these, so I appreciate it even more.
Yeah, and I appreciate your patience with me.
This is kind of fish out of water for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I'm that old, slightly older. I don't know. There's a place where you just played, and yeah, the kind of the interview stuff has always been a sort of a, oh yeah, I really should, and yeah. So.
Well, let's be honest. I've known you for quite a while, and your playing kind of speaks for itself, so you don't have to speak on behalf of it, but it's enough blowing smoke up your ass.
Yeah, stop.
We're gonna get on with it. So
yeah, cool.
So what are you up to at the moment? I saw you at the drum show very briefly. Now that shocked me even more, because I know drum shows are not your thing at all, and you lasted. It must have been at least 65 minutes.
I did really well. No, it's wonderful. I saw some old friends, and it was really cool. And I'm just sort of clocking what's going on, but it's just that the air pressure issue after a while just gets to kind of I can't hear myself speak at the best of times. So
yeah, it does make you worry about health and safety a little bit.
Oh man, but I really, watching the wee ones really get digging in. It's just gorgeous. Really made me. Yeah. It was really happy. It was a nice thing.
Young enthusiasm, we like it.
Yes.
So what are you up to at the moment, Ged?
I've finished a lot of touring. So I was just saying, I'm just going to turn it up with the online sessiony things and the teaching.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's really nice just being at home after really hammering it, with the same luggage and the toothbrush in a strange place. So, when I was young, I couldn't get enough, but I don't know, the touring thing now, it's fab, of course, but it's just really nice to have a little break and do other things. And
of course, I mean, you're not saying you wouldn't do it again, but
no, of course, no.
Equally, but it's nice to have that change.
Well, enjoying when this I was doing the Clannad thing, and then they sort of say that's us, we're not going to do any more. Part of me was like, oh, it's quite exciting, actually. That's sort of, so you kind of feel like you get off the bus and stand there. And I've been in that position before with bands where they either explode, and Black Grape did that.
Oh, we know.
And so you stand there going, right, so I've got what am I going to do now? Not got no work. But this time I kind of know it works, and it'll all just resettle and something else works out. So
Yeah, well, you're in a beautiful part of the world where you. I've been to your house a few times, and
yeah.
that view from your back garden is pretty special. And the space you're in now, which is in your back garden of sorts, isn't it? Your studio. I mean, what a beautiful little haven to be
I'm
in.
lucky. I'm very lucky. Yeah, it's my happy place, and get the books out, and get back into not playing the same 18 tunes all year. Do some work on new stuff, because I don't know you, when I'm touring a lot, when I'm playing a lot, the last thing I want to do in my time off is get the books out and start.
I get that.
So it's going to be. I'm quite excited about woodshedding again, sort of literally.
Yeah.
And especially coming into winter, this is great.
I mean,
put the stove on, and
that's the thing. It is. Yeah. It's like it is a haven. Your place. It's not like it's not a house. It's just just screams warmth and comfort. That's just the place you want to be in this kind of season.
It's righteous.
Yeah. So I'm guessing now. Obviously, I can see that the famous red. Is it an Elite? I think it is, isn't it? Is it an Elite?
Do you know, I'm the world's worst.
I'm asking the wrong man, aren't I? Yeah.
You are, because they changed the name, which was just me done. But it was the red sparkly one that I liked.
Yeah.
And they let me put the die-cast hoops on it. And
I know you're a fan of those.
Yeah.
And so are you? I'm guessing you're fully well. I can see microphones on it. You're fully equipped for the online session thing. So I'm guessing you do quite a bit of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky because I've got the perk thing as well. I was doing a job for an Indian composer the other day, and it's just great because it doesn't always have to be kit. So you think actually we could use kit, but I've got some other pretty far out stuff we could try. And generally, I just do it as one session. I don't differentiate drums and perk because the voices, they're just percussion voices, aren't they? Whether it's arranged in that format or or just taking it in a stereo pair. I'm really lucky. So, put drums and perk is a sort of it's always been my bread and butter. I mean, that was the route into PG and all that. It was just because
So with the recording, then, is this something you is it something you've picked up over the years, or have you made a conscious effort to learn how to do it? And let's be honest, you've been on enough albums and in enough studio spaces to see techniques and stuff. Is that how it's worked?
I didn't really do any formal education. I did some lessons with a lovely guy called Tim Franks up in Manchester, and my old drum tutor was a guy called Eric Hammond. He was like old school military, sight ready, beat you up kind of dude.
Yeah.
So learning how to kind of make records was sort of intuitive. I was lucky enough when the Black Grape thing went back in the dark ages, the 90s. There were two producers on the record. So when the album did well, rather than, which is the usual deal, you get a lot of work through the producers who like what you do.
Yeah, of course. I
had two guys who said, we must get Ged on this, So it kind of really went bonkers, and they both had successful careers, and I was lucky enough to hitch my wagon. But the kind of the idea of what to do was more to do with just bringing what you thought sounded great, you know what I mean, and being able to play it in time.
It helps.
Yeah, that's a useful thing. And I think having a sense of what, I use that word, voices, what you don't want it to sound like everyone else. So maybe why don't we try? I always say to the client, can we audition this before we take it? Because I'm going to try and make something that's a bit wrong, but make it right by it's just not too loud. Like there's that, it's like in all things, there's the nuance, it's like those great reggae records where the tambourine is just too loud.
Yes, yeah.
It's amazing because it's just too loud. All you can really hear is tambourine, but it's that proportional, dissonance is the thing that makes you go, oh, I won't swear, but yeah. I think I just learned that intuitively and was given permission by these two guys I was working with. Yeah, so,
obviously when you're working there on your own and somebody sent you the stems for whatever you're recording. Do
Uh-huh.
you like that situation, or would you rather be in a commercial studio where you've got less time?
I
Maybe.
prefer it here if the client attends,
Right.
because you can just by picking up the instruments and looking at them, and you go, I'm thinking this, and you can see fear in their eyes, or disgust, or joy, yeah, or real excitement, and then so the process is so much quicker than doing a take, finding an adjective that you think is useful to them when they put it up, and if I say disturbing, or I don't know, something kind of worrying, or I want this to be a bit worrying, but if you listen to it loud, you're going to hate it.
Yeah.
But if you get it right, how I'm hearing it. So yeah, I prefer the client attends. That's my, and also, I mean, driving to London now is all gone. No one's mad enough to kind of
No.
do that anymore. But yeah, I do the thing where I send stems, and we have Skype type things.
Sure.
But yeah, my favorite thing is actually working with the composer or the songwriter.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. But I guess you've still got, in that situation, you haven't got the worry of somebody's paying thousands of pounds a day for a studio space. So if they want something different, it's not the end of the world. It's try this.
You can take risks, because I'm not a clock watcher anyway. You kind of give a day rate and all that, but I don't care if we do another day just to make everybody really happy.
Yeah.
I ain't no way. It's not like, say, it's not Abbey Road and everyone's,
yeah, because it's not going to make or break the record, the budget for it. If it's
no, yeah, I mean, was it Gareth Healy told me that there's no such thing as a percussion emergency. It's the best thing I've ever.
I like that.
It's really good, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be okay. It's just a tambourine. Yeah. We don't need to worry about it. Even though I've got. Yeah, I've got 30 tambourines and I'm torturing it, trying to find the right thing to fit but it doesn't really matter. Yeah. No. I don't want to be a nihilist because that's surrender, but yeah.
But you've got that facility there, and it's an amazing thing to have. That the fact that you can wander up from the house in your slippers at any time in the day to go to work without the stress of lobby calls and all the stuff which you've had for years. Well,
I used to do loads in London, and I'd leave North Wales at kind of, you're kidding, o'clock.
Yeah.
Sometimes then try to hit the outside and grab some sleep, and then go and, try to be useful. So, but this is the new thing is just a little bit more kind of, it's going to be okay.
Sounds about perfect to me.
So far so good. Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned the percussion thing, obviously, which, you're well known for doing as well alongside drum kit, drum set, whatever you want to say. So I'm interested, as far as the percussion thing goes, is that something you've just picked up, from when you started alongside the drums? Have you had any formal kind of...
The guy showed me the basics, a lovely guy called John Slater, again, 100 years ago. And I did think about, there was some great courses out in Europe and I was going to do them, but back then there wasn't, it wasn't as easy to access.
Yeah, of course.
It was kind of, it was, God, I want to sound old, it's kind of, you were all scrabbling around for photostated things. And
no, I'm with you.
Yeah, you remember, man. But so it was a gradual process, and I'm sure I played lots of absolute rubbish but I sat down by accident with Erto at Real World once.
Yeah.
And I'm not a ta-da kind of guy, and someone introduced us, and it was really interesting. He was just so talking about what it was for him, and he was very relatable and just talked about sound and feel. And it wasn't about rules, because I think it can get a little bit territorial.
Oh yeah.
With Perk and different cultures. So I've always said I'm quite profane. I'm going to insult someone. It's but if it fits the thing I'm doing, I'm not too concerned. Because I play pop music anyway.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not a purist. I'm not a classical guy. So yeah, it's about trying to kind of find something that just makes your face go like that And I don't care what it is, whether it's I've got half a Land Rover in here somewhere. You know what I mean? It's whatever the sound is. I'm not too hooked up on it. Understanding the last 200 years of its origins. I mean, I kind of know my stuff to a point, but
yeah,
it's not a religion for me.
So when you said you were shown a few things, is this like conga technique or
yeah, and the relationship with clave, and then you get when the Frank Malabe books came out, just at those, and have an appreciation of the real deal, and Giovanni Hidalgo, all those guys, clocking it. But I'm never been a kind of a jazz. I worked out that because when I was a kid, we come from a similar culture where you had to be able to play everything to make a living.
Yeah.
You had to do a pretty good shake of any damn thing. But then at whatever stage, you realize that you can't play everything. Speed metal and I don't know, bebop. I don't know. It's a different culture. So you start to find your voice. But I mean, you do have to learn all the different vocabularies. That's all really good. But then it comes a point where you've got to say, so where are you at? Where's your thing? I remember at the first time I saw Luke Flowers up in Manchester play jazz, and how I experienced it was like it kind of went sepia. He was that authentic and damn, and it was like, oh yeah, so that's that taken to its zenith. It's like an extraordinary musician. But I realized that's not, that's like, I'm not drawn. I don't want to chase off into that sunset. I've got some other things that make me crazy. You've got your thing, which you do, and people have booked you for many years for tours and albums. If they want the Ged Lynch thing, they book you. If they want speed metal or jazz, there's a million other people who are great at that. Yeah, I've got some phone numbers for you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I always do that. I put guys, I think I know where you're at, and it's not where I'm at. So, let's just go for dinner. But
there's a lot less time. There's a lot more time or less time wasted that way. I think rather than trying to.
Yeah. All those. I mean, those prog guys are incredible, man. I just that's another culture. It's just I'm from somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah. Let them have it. Yeah. That's fine.
yeah. Well, you when you're in you got that imposter thing. You kind of go, because when the Gabriel thing, because Peter had a heavy grounding in prog, it's Genesis. It was like, come on.
Yeah.
But people, I think, because I did about 18 years with Peter. And they presumed it's like, oh, it's going to be a bit proggy, but it's like, well, it's kind of not. He picked me out because he didn't want to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
he's done that, and he's really done it. And I suspect he wanted to go somewhere else, so he picked a different engine.
No, that's exactly. You're the right horse for the right course. It's as simple as that. It's that's it, isn't it?
Small Shetland pony. Yeah,
small but reliable.
Yeah,
money. Anyway, let's go back to the early years now. What's your kind of first memories of music? And now I'm guessing you're going to be top of the pops era like me.
Yeah, absolutely. Could just looked at it. Just looked at it and was that's just obviously the only way to spend your life, which is really sweet. And then of course it was all Rick Buckler and Stuart Copeland.
Yeah.
And even stuff now when I look at old, the YouTube stuff, it's just, I can see why I was just, that's it, done, cooked. Just, watching Stuart be Stuart. It was just from my little walnut-sized brain back then, just, wow, and not knowing what he's doing, but needing it and kind of, I mean, we did some gigs with Sting.
Yes.
And Stuart was there, but I'm not the sort of guy who kind of goes over and, says the thing he's heard 40,000 times.
You're painting a lovely picture of yourself here, I have to say. Well, I mean that in a genuine, nice way as well.
So I just was sort of looking at him with, was just a lovely feeling. Oh, there's Stuart, and you can tell he adores Sting, and it's just a lovely thing just to witness this, because there's they've been through, what a journey together. But it was just quite sweet, me looking at Stuart thinking, oh, you're
the reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice
all my exams set on fire, yeah, it was cool.
I'm guessing, say top of the pops, and then it was begging for the first drum kit, was it, or was that quite an easy process to get a set of drums?
Not easy at all, mate. No, my dad he was quite what do you call it? He was wheeler dealer. He's kind of good at business, unlike myself. And we went. We'd seen this drum set in the newspaper. Go down, and he said, right, so if this is what you want, if this is the right thing, just scratch your nose, or I think it's scratch your nose. And so we go into this house, and I'm looking at this thing. It was an old John Gray Broadway. It was absolute piece of junk, but it was a drum kit, And so, right, I'm on the case here. Dad said, do this. And I did the nose thing. And the first thing my dad said, of course, was, nah, that's not what we're really interested in. And because I was dim, and I sort of did my nose again, thinking that he hadn't heard me. And so by the end of the session, I'm punching myself in the nose, signaling that this drum kit's right. And he no, don't want it, not interested. Obviously he was trying to, get the kit nice down. And as we were leaving, and I'm bloodied all around my face, the lady who was selling it stopped us, and she said, "You're not leaving without that drum kit," because she obviously had enough of having that bloody drum kit in my house. And we came away with it. And then I just, obviously made an altar and worshipped it for the next 45 years. Yeah.
So, at that age, right? I don't know what age are we talking, Ged?
I think I was 11.
Right. So you're similar age to when I started.
Yeah.
So was there any kind of concept that you'd be doing this for a living one day, or was it the dream even at that point?
That was the goal, because my only goal was not to have to get a proper job.
Yeah.
Because from where I'm from, it didn't look like fun.
No.
You know what I mean? It's like up north in that neck of the woods. It's like, I don't know many ski instructors, or, there's a list of things that you wanted to do every day were pretty meager.
Yeah.
So I just thought, and back then there was a scene to be in a band, and the working men's clubs, and the ships. There was this kind of magical thing. People kept saying the ships. Didn't know what it meant, other than being on a ship. So my only goal was just to kind of arm myself with the reading and stuff was. I'm not a sight reader. I think unless you do it as a gig, it always eludes me. Yeah, I know you've got that down.
It's like it's a muscle that, if you don't use it, it's
and I've not used it enough. So that was my only goal, was to not get a grown-up's job. But in terms of understand, because it's like, it's all a bit of a mystery, really. You see what you want, but it doesn't really, there's no career path. I know now it's perhaps different, because you can get exams, and maybe you can get a teaching role in a university. It's actually the structure. But back then it was just the thing. You just have to move towards the thing.
That thing generally in the back of my mind was always London.
Yeah.
The thing happens in London.
Yeah. Well, I moved when I was 19. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Because you just had to go towards the thing, and still trying to work, how does this work? Yeah.
So I'm guessing then you'd have been doing, would you have done the social club circuit, which to be honest, pretty soul destroying at times, isn't it?
Yeah, but I didn't know that it was soul destroying. I think I was such a little, I'm playing drums. Yeah. I didn't know that it was kind of, it was, I think I was 14, and probably told this story before, forgive me if I'm repeating myself, but somebody said, do you want to earn another £20? And and it was a stripper, and I just, I'd never seen a naked woman. So I didn't know it was grim, really. It was just It was grim, but I didn't know. It's only retrospectively I've gone, oh damn, yeah, that was tough.
But
Yeah,
you're doing what you want to do and making a few quid. So I suppose you were on the journey, and that.
absolutely. And because I think it was I was quite aggressively, I'm doing this, which I think you had to be. You couldn't be a bit fey about it. You had to be really at it because, as we know, it's not easy. It's.
No.
I've got so much respect for anyone who's I heard Craig Blundell say it. I totally agree with him that anyone who makes a living from music is just well done, man. Well done.
It's a minefield, isn't it? That's for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy time.
And if you can navigate it, then yeah,
It's
like
not.
you say.
It's not for softies.
No, and it's also, I hear people say, "Oh, it must be like great," and it's easy. Oh, it's never easy. Never easy.
I love that. Yeah,
easy is not a word that
No.
And I'm not. By the way, I'm not comparing what I do to what you do. We do very different things,
It's the same
and
thing.
different levels. But yeah, you still got to pay the mortgage and do what have you.
Yeah, and and gigs get tighter and the things change. And navigating how things are, and I mean, and you hit a run of work and you go, yeah, this is great, and then
Yeah,
it's not normal. It's not like a normal gig. It's towar's end. The only lads that I worked out who have a great, sort of a fulfilled, the crew guys.
Yeah.
Because they can hop onto another tour. Obviously, then they've got to risk themselves and not hop on every tour that comes along because you go mad and all your clothes are always just black. Sorry.
It's the truth. Don't apologize.
Yeah. Crew guy, everything you own is black. Clergy or crew, yeah. But yeah, so yeah, it's no one said it was going to be easy.
No. So when you headed to London, then were you? Was it just like almost a blind decision? Right, I'm gonna go down there and I'm gonna make it famous, or did you have any leads or anything, or was it just?
I was in a band, barely, and they won a battle of the bands competition. I think I was 18, and we just went down in a van from Lancashire, and because we were really smart. We'd obviously decided, oh, well, we'll stay and we'll rent a house because obviously our landlord is really going to want to rent a house to a bunch of northern musicians in a band because we thought it'd be like the Monkees. We'd live in this house and we could practice in the front room and it'd be great. Didn't quite work out.
No, I'm sure.
But I was mad enough and bloody enough to stay. And one other guy in the band as well, my mate Mark Johns, we stayed. Because we're daft. And Mark works with me here, and we did Gabriel together.
Oh right, okay. Oh, that's nice, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's mad.
That's amazing. That's an amazing story.
Yeah, we know each other way too well, man. Yeah. He's one of the only guys I listen to when I say, "How was that take?" And I really trust him. But yeah, so we stayed and for a while, and then I started the thing started to happen where you met people and then you get that band with that's actually got the holy grail of the record deal, and then your problems start. Yeah,
because I'm guessing I don't know would it have been the Icicle Works first?
Yeah,
that was your first.
It was just I did some recording with them, and then that didn't last so long. But it was a real education. It was great, actually, really, really good. Yeah, that all came right. And then I met, got into sort of the Manchester end of things because Manchester was on fire.
Were you back home ish at this time?
Yeah, because I came back from London to to do the Icicle Works thing in Liverpool, but Liverpool, Manchester.
Yeah.
Respect either culture. Don't get into a fight. But then Manchester was really on fire. Met Kermit from the Ruthless Rap Assassins, and then when he hooked up with Sean Ryder to do Black Grape, he said, "Oh, I know some white guy who's,
Yeah.
Yeah. And remarkably, that album went, because there was a lot of very talented people on that. It's a huge, quite a big team, two really good producers, Steve Loroni, Danny Saber, Wags, Paris Angels, kind of had a real thing going on. My mate Martin. Yeah, it was a really good band, quietly.
And do you know, it's kind of a real show of confidence, wasn't it? That band were going to do something. Because that album can't have been cheap to make, you know.
I mean, my memory's poor. Full stop. You know, we know each other.
Yeah.
So I don't remember I mean, it was a bit of a miracle that it sort of happened because of some of the maelstrom of what was going on with people in the band. But I remember it was back then. Excuse me. You used to listen to the radio to find out what the chart thing was, and I was in a wee cottage up in the north, and someone said, "Oh yeah, we've charted." So, oh wow, I've never been in a band. Oh, that's so far out. So started listening, and I think I started listening at about. Did the chart start at 60?
But it could. Well, are we talking Sunday tea time here or Sunday?
Yeah, that thing. Yeah. Thank you for the understanding the cultural reference. Yeah. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, and I think I started at 48. Listened for the 2 hours of, and it got into the sort of top 10, and I was thinking, oh, so it was 60. Yeah. Oh, great, and I've missed it. Well done, idiot. But then it was sort of, I think it went in at number 3, and then it went to number 1. And that was the kind of the suddenly I was the same, but the context of everything changed.
I can't imagine. Can you describe that feeling? Because I when you find out that this thing that you're on, providing the backbeat is all of a sudden, number 3, did you say? That's
I think so. Forgive me for that. I mean, we ended up at number 1, but it was in the top 10. Or maybe it was the single that did that. And then, of course, they say when you're going to do Top of the Pops, and then it's sort of, but yeah, the feeling was sort of just that it was an otherness, it was, I'd never experienced that sort of thing, and I didn't know what to expect, so it was, now I kind of understand the process, but then, yeah, I don't think I was equipped with any kind of insight. It was just a bit mad, and then was a bit mad for about 3 years.
Did things change overnight, or was it a gradual thing?
It's this sort of accelerated. I mean, I was very grateful because it started to roll for me when I was 27. So I wasn't a kid. I wasn't 14 or 16 or 18 or So I understood myself a little. I knew what I needed to do.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say that's generous, but I think I wasn't easily led. Yeah. When some of the things that were presented to me were off, it was like, I think I'll leave that. Yeah, I think I'll leave you to do that because I'm not going to enjoy that. So I think I was really lucky, and I came out of it with an awful lot. I met some really. It directly led to the Gabriel thing.
Well, that's whole other story, isn't it?
Yeah.
My first sighting of you, Ged, I have to say, because it ties into where we're at, was TFI Friday. If you can remember back,
you did that a lot, man. Because what's it called?
Chris Evans.
Chris Evans, thank you. He was very clever and knew how to make TFI Friday appear on the front of the newspaper every week.
Yeah.
And so he'd get Sean in, who perhaps say something that wasn't in the rule book. Press go nuts. Attention goes to TFI Friday. He'd have his wrist slapped. So I think we did it 6 or 7 times.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it was mad. And they'd kind of manufacture another reason to do it. Even we had no product. We were pretending to be the Sex Pistols or something. I remember being on with up on the mountain.
Yeah.
And getting, because we had pages then, do you remember?
Yeah.
And I got a page and it said TFI this week again. It's like, okay. And I didn't want to be that guy, but yes, we had to go down on a Wednesday, and was it Wednesday? Thursday, perhaps.
I can't remember.
Yeah. yeah, but it was, I was really lucky. Again, met loads of people, met Johnny Marr and Bernard, got involved with electronic.
Yeah, of course.
Which was about as much fun as people can have in a band. I can't begin to tell
It was a
you.
bit short-lived, unfortunately, wasn't it? It wasn't.
Well, we did an album, and Johnny's talked about this, and I was with Guy Pratt. Guy was in the thing, and there was talk of a tour,
Mm.
And then Electronic were looked after by Oasis's management. It was all, this is going to happen, man.
Yeah.
And then we sort of, Guy and I, rhythm section, we Guy, of course.
Yeah, of course.
We were just sort of what's the hold up, but what's the plan then? Because it all seems a bit vague. And it was I'm not sure. I think they wouldn't admit which one of them didn't want to tour between Bernard and Johnny. And I think Johnny admitted that it was him. I think.
What a shame, though. What a shame.
Or was it Bernard that admitted? Bernard admitted. Guy will know.
Yeah.
Because Guy wrote about it in his book. Yeah, it was a shame because we once went to Sweden, and what happens in Sweden stays in Sweden. But it was the most fun. It really was to be in a band like that with proper
legend there.
Yeah, but just the kindest people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Johnny, Bernard, amazing, incredible people, but also really good fun. And
while we're on the subject of Guy, I mean, Guy's, as you know, was on the podcast. I don't know how long ago. Probably 18 months now, and he speaks incredibly highly of you as a drummer and a person, of course. And how you've done a lot with him, haven't you, over the years?
We've and he's I think how do we begin? Yeah, I think I love him dearly. Yeah, because when I was stepping into that world, as we discussed, the moving towards the thing.
Sure, he
was so generous and kind, and I remember asking about what should I be charging for this?
Mm.
And Guy, because he's been down that road, he'd be just great counsel, and would sort of take a kid from up north who really didn't know his arse from his elbow and give him a bit of a chat. He was really good, and he was kind. Yeah, I always respond well to that stuff. Yeah, he was really kind. It didn't have to be because he's Guy.
But since then you've worked together so many times on different things. I've seen things come up on your social media occasionally, not very often. And there was one. I can't remember who it was now. Was it a certain member of the Who that you'd recorded?
Oh, yeah. Well, because that was just a wee thing, but
but even so, a lovely thing.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, because that
was it. Pete, I can't remember.
Yeah,
it was Pete Townsend.
Pete Townsend, and it we went down to his place in the south somewhere, and gorgeous studio, but he's got all the kind of the original instruments from the Who, that kind of culturally important, he's an icon. And he just sat this specific, I don't think it's unkind to call it an organ. It was like the old school, it was either a Whirly or a Hammond, I can't remember which. And he played Baba O'Reilly.
Oh. Yeah. Talk about an iconic piece of music.
Well, it was just, and he just kind of, and I did it like this. And I'm looking at guys looking at me, and we're like, that kind of, those, didn't expect to be experiencing that. That was really nice. He was fab, and I learned a lot again. I was very lucky.
But I mean, that just shows how long you've been working together. With Bernard and Johnny, and then through to this. I don't know if that was the last time you saw each other, or in a playing capacity.
We went for a curry in Manchester, and had a kiss and a cuddle. It was lovely to see him. And then I've not seen him since then, but we send. We're good. We're good.
That's good.
Yeah.
So I suppose, we have to talk about Peter Gabriel, because it's a massive chunk of your career history.
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it.
Oh no, lucky. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
He's fab. Yeah. So it's what
Well, how did it?
How did it happen?
How? Where? What? Why? Well,
I was in the studio with Grape, and phrase this to be not to just and while we're at Real World Towers sort of thing in the residential, things would kick off regularly with the band. Things that were sort of things sorry type things, but I was kind of slightly not on that side of the street.
Yeah.
And so I started getting on really well with some of the guys who worked there. And I was working for Steve Osborne, Oakenfold Osborne.
Yes.
Osborne. Sweetheart, absolute amazing musician, producer. And Peter was doing stuff for OVO, which was the Millennium Project back in 2000.
Yep.
And he played this track to Oz, and Oz just said in that Cockney, "You should get Ged on that." And obviously, Ged who? But the stuff I'd been doing with Oz was kind of whatever we were rocking at that time. And so I got a shot at it, and Marcus Dravs was doing the same thing. Marcus was mixing stuff, and he got me in on stuff. But so I came in doing drums and perc on a piece. And I'd never seen so many tracks when they put up tools. It was like, oh, that's a lot of music, because I wasn't used to how Peter worked. And so we did this drum track, and we were killing the fish. It was like really good. It was a great thing. And I didn't know, but when we were at the end of day, the big speakers were on, and we're all just doing that thing and vibing. Peter came in, but I didn't see him come in.
Right.
I just had peripheral vision, so I'm kind of just probably swearing, well, and Peach was behind me, and then it was like, oh, hi, and he was, yeah, this is where we're at, and so I got a shot at quite a lot of stuff on that album. And then somebody tried to pull a move on Peter with one of his WOMAD shows out in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in Liverpool doing a film, which sounds very pop star of me. And I was with John Murphy.
Oh, okay.
And the phone went 28 days later, guy.
Yeah.
And the phone went, and Ged, it's for you. It's like, oh, that's never happened. That's like being in a film, And it was Dickie, Peter's engineer, saying, "Where are you?" Right. And he said, "Well, we need you in Seattle on Thursday." Maybe it was Monday or Tuesday. I don't know. And I was like, okay, what are we doing? Sort of. And he said, Page he's got to do a show. He wants to do a show. It's got to happen. Manu's not available. So get to Seattle. And it had to be small kit. Put the phone down, because being in Liverpool, everyone's taking the piss out of me, going, "Oh yeah, right." No, honestly, it was Pete. So anyway, so we did that show, and again, the guys in the band were really welcoming, because damn, kid from Accrington, man, like climbing on stage with Tony Levin, right?
Were you aware of all the material at this point, or did you?
Sent me something through, like it was like learn, but it wasn't a long set. I think it was like maybe 10 tunes in a few days, but I was aware of some of his canon, obviously.
Yeah.
But there were a couple of pieces that were, and the way he wanted to bend time in certain places. But David Rhodes was just, again took me under his wing. Tony was just an utter sweetheart. That level of player, they're not. And so we did this show, and of course I was stress fit then. I was quite young, didn't really know what had just happened. But when I finished it, I realized I'm going to burst into tears, because I'm a softie, And so I went under the stage. There's nowhere to go. My toxic masculinity thing. And I just had a moment of, because obviously it had gone well, but I hadn't realized how much pressure I'd put on myself. And And I just thought that was it. That was a one-off show.
That was the pinnacle for you.
Well, yeah, I just thought, well, you can kind of jack it in now, love. You can, whatever you're going to do, go and do that. So I thought that was me. I played with Peach. Wow, man, it was fantastic. There's a recording of it somewhere. I don't know. Anyway, I think it's been on a few years later, maybe 2 years later. I'd heard that my name was in the hat for the tour, which I was like, oh no, don't tell me shit like that, man. That's silly, Anyway, again, it was when we had answer machines that flashed. And I've been out on the hill, came home, and I think they told me that you should know by this Sunday. And the answer machine was flashing, and I came in, and it was a message Peter as well, which was really kind. And he said, we'd like you to join us.
This is from Peter himself now, left this message.
Yeah. Oh, he does a lot of his own kind of business.
I bet you wish you still had a recording of that phone call. A message.
Yeah, I probably rang Guy.
Yeah.
It's me again. Yeah. And that was, I think I understood that was another turning of the page kind of thing of didn't expect that.
Yeah.
That was a really, and I again learned so much just how he wanted to do it. I'd never been involved in shows that big before. I'd done big festivals, but not stadium and arena stuff to that level. So yeah, it was yeah. And good job I've got a terrible memory. I've bored to death, but yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And does Peter get involved with the live stuff, what you play? Does he have any opinions or suggestions, or does he kind of let you get on with it?
I think he's really clever, and he basically lets you play to, because you're there because your choices fit what's going on. And to be honest, he's got so many plates in the air anyway. He's singing, and there's a big show, and he's being a singer. So no, he hands. It's your chair. It's extraordinary. I learned so much about picking the right person, and then just leaving them to it.
Sure.
That kind of. We talked earlier on about curating. If you want a jazz drum, I've got some numbers for you. If you want some Cuban guy, I've got some numbers for you. But if you want this, it's like, yeah, well, let me do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was, and just from a confidence point of view, we did a show in Sardinia for. There's another story, but it's for pints. Do it.
Won't be long, I'm sure.
Yeah. And it was, I think it was the first time I'd played in that format with that tour, and we tore into Red Rain.
Oh, what a track.
Yeah, and we finished it, and I was just, obviously I'm the new guy, so I'm clocking, was that okay? And Tony Levin just turned around and did that, and it was like, it's gonna be all right, He didn't turn around and go. Which would have been different, you see.
Of course. Just
sorry, the obvious. Yeah, but yeah, it was that I'm eternally grateful, because even if it wasn't the best version of Red Rain, it was a new version, and Tony was so supportive, and we moved some air. It's
incredible. So was Rachel in the band at that point?
Rachel Z, yeah, I think she was. She was Rachel Z, Richard Evans, David Rhodes.
Remarkable band.
Oh man, yeah, it was great, and because we were running a lot of track, but there was a lot played as well. Yeah. It was really great, and I'm such a fan of singers. That's where I'm at. That's if there was a kind of a there's the drum show. If there was the vocal show, I'd be the one at the vocal show. Actually, no, 400 singers all at the same time might not be great.
It's a lot of egos in one room, Jeff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but you know what I mean. So when you playing with Peter is sort of yeah, just yeah.
Well, I'm going to go back into blowing smoke up arse's time again, but you are a dynamic player and you're a supportive drummer. That much is obvious from, when I've seen you live, and the vocals will always be the focal point of the reason. That's the reason people go, isn't it? Generally,
I think so, because that reaches right into you.
Yeah, and you've always got their back. You're aware. You got big ears,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just it's the thing that you find within you. You talked about finding your voice. Maybe I'm just a frustrated singer. I don't know, but if I've always found if you lock onto where the singer's going and just be there,
yeah,
and yeah, that's just magical for me. That's my happy place. That making it look like their being is what's making that whole band thing sit together. That's the central point. Is that I could do this for hours and not make any sense. But yeah, that it's totally the voice. It's the kind of yeah.
I mean, before we move on to a little bit of Clannad, obviously we have to talk about the co-headline tour with Sting. And now,
oh yeah,
I think of that as recent, but it's probably 7 or 8 years ago now, isn't it?
Mad, isn't it? Yeah, 2016.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I mean,
and there was going to be
through that, because that's
that was funny, man. Because that the phone call came. Peter was going to do this thing with Sting. I was like, oh no way! I didn't know that was a thing that Sting did. So I said, so how does it work? And they said, oh, well, they're going to do it a different way. It used to be Sting would go on, and then what's the other cat he did it with? Was it Paul Simon?
Oh, okay.
And it did kind of,
alternate the headline slot. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think because Sting and Peter are pretty close, they've worked together on Amnesty and, they know each other, that they were going to do it more like that. They were going to put the two bands together. So then you're into, okay, so how's that going to work? So I've never been in a situation where you mix bands, and yeah, that was a sort of and who's on drums? And it was someone said, it's Vinnie. And of course, time stops. Vinnie, yeah, right. And of course, he's an absolute darling and plays beautifully and has amazing ears. And it was one of the easiest things I've ever done. But I remember, I'm sure I've told you this. I don't know who it was, somebody, when I said, we're doing this thing, and he said, who's on drums? And he said, oh, it's Vinnie. And he said, what are you going to do?
I've laughed about that far too much over the years.
I'm sorry, it's the killer. As if it was some sort of boxing match.
Yeah. Well, you're going to hand your notes and go, forget it, I'm not doing it.
Well, because he's God of drums, man. Yeah. What do you mean you're going to do? What do you think? What do you even mean? But Vinnie was just so musical and righteous. Honestly, I can't tell you how easy it was. He was just so lovely to play with.
So just so we all understand, obviously both artists are on all night. So was Vinnie playing alongside you with Peter songs, and was it vice versa for Sting songs with?
Forgive me again, Mr. Memory. As I remember it, they'd come on together and we'd play a tune together, the whole ensemble, and then say Peter would and we'd kind of retire a little bit, and it would be mainly Sting's band, and then we'd do a thing where it was both bands, and then Peter would come on and Sting's band would exit. So it was a bit of a check. It depended on what the piece needed.
Yeah, sure.
Or could bear. Some things need every drum on stage, and we had Ronnie on percussion, Ronnie Creature. Amazing, man.
Good grief. Yeah.
Amazing. Lovely, man. And because it was Vinnie, Ronnie and myself. So there was the engine room was
quite an engine room.
Yeah. And we had Noel, Vinnie's guy with us, and we had my guy, Scott. So we had this little scene at the back. It was just a bit good.
I can, if you'll pardon my way of putting this, I can almost hear the colour coming from the three of you, you know?
Yeah, it was great, man. Because Vinnie was using that Gretsch thing.
Yeah.
And his paste thing. So, I love Gretsch drums. Don't look over that shoulder. Look at this. Look at the red Premier. And I love Premier drums. So I was using the Premier thing with my heavy head thing. And so the voices were really different.
Yeah.
The paste Silvian thing, the Premier Gretsch thing, the Vinnie, the way Vinnie does what he does. Ronnie's just, beautiful. So we really had it covered. It was really special. Yeah, I was so lucky. I mean, come on. And then it was Sanchez on keyboards. And
really? Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and Angie on from Peter's thing has a completely different flavour. So we had all kinds of bases covered. Pete Tickell on fiddle. Mr. Levin, Tony.
I mean, that must have been a pinch yourself moment. Just
it's mad. Because when I was a kid, it was we got together for rehearsals in London just to see how it would sort of work out. And Sting came in with Dominic, and he started shouting tunes. He said, "Does anyone know Spirits of the Material World?" And it was like, "Does anyone know King of Pain?" And I know his whole canon pretty much. And so I got to, it's the recording. I got to play Spirits
without Vinnie, or just
no, just in rehearsal, just with Sting and Dom, and like obviously Peter's band. I kind of went, I don't really know this piece, but I'm just going, I'm playing Spirits, because I'm a tour, yeah, man. I mean, come on, stop it. And we didn't end up doing that piece live, but it was, and Sting was good fun. He was naughty when they did rock and roll ending. He going, and I always used to take the cue from Peter when I'm going to drop.
Yeah.
And Sting would stand in the way on purpose, because he'd be seeing me looking for Peter, and he'd just appear going, "You can't see the boss, can you? Or you can't see your boss."
You see, this is so nice to hear, because I think sometimes Sting gets a little bit of bad press about being very serious and very. But to hear it from the horse's mouth, as it were.
No, he was a bloke from Newcastle, as far as my vibe with him. Because when I do shows, I don't like to sit in the dressing room. I like to be up in the place I'm playing a little earlier.
Yeah. So
that I can sense the place and just arrive. Dressing room stage on is a bit, and it turned out Sting had a similar process. So I'd kind of bumble up on stage 10 minutes before a show, not on stage, backstage.
Yeah.
And Sting would be there just kind of doing the same thing. His process, some people do the, group hug and different things, but I like a quiet.
Just soak it up.
Yeah. And so he was lovely. Yeah. It was cool.
Imagine just sharing, I'm guessing, did you kind of, I don't like to use this word, but kind of make it up a little bit then, where with you and Vinnie, did it slot in automatically what you were doing? Was it just?
Yeah, because his time is so sweet.
Oh.
I mean, it's difficult because he's I'm pretty handy with clay. That's my gig. But Vinnie's just another level. It's just delicious. Just where he puts it was really nice. I'm sure I know I've told you this, but when we went for the first sound check, and I'm on still you do drums first, right?
Yeah.
And so Vinnie's on his set. I've got my thing, and so what are you going to play in your first sound check next to Vinnie Colaiuta? Go on.
Oh God!
Really? What are you going to play? So I did the kind of kid can't play thing. Gap.
A Bon Tempi fill.
Yeah, just as bad as you could make it. And of course, Vinnie falls off his drum stool, fully aware of the energy in the room. And then, of course, when Vinnie comes to do his sound check, he does the same. So for the whole tour, pretty much, if it came to sound check and drums, it was seeing who could out bad. the worst drum fill, the most rushed.
Isn't that beautiful though? That's
man, it was so much fun. And it was, sound guys are going, yeah, that's really funny. Can we have a proper sound check?
Hit them like you're going
to. Yeah, well, it was just a bonding thing because, yeah, Vinnie's ticked every box there is to be ticked, I think.
Yeah, well, one of these days I'll get him. One of these days.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that would you say, obviously you've done things since, was that the pinnacle for you? Was that as good as it got? Or was there other things which you've gone? I know it's difficult to say, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think I can. I've never thought of it in those terms, but I mean, one day I'll sit down and there's just a lot of little sort of things on the, I don't think I can do that. It's more linear, I think. But they're all. I mean, the first time you do Top of the Pops.
Well, yeah.
But then you work out it's a children's television program, and you've just spent 27 years of your life wanting to be on a children's television program, and the joy of that is your own ridiculousness. Like, oh, it's a children's television program. I thought it was heaven.
Yeah,
because I was 11.
But you're seeing it from a different point of view, then, aren't you? You're looking through this box in your living room. You're not looking out at rows of kids being organised by,
a lady with a headset on, going 5, 4, 3, 2. I can't count, but it's and those, I find that stuff really delicious. That's really that's as much fun as doing bad drumming sound checks with Vinnie.
But I saw you with Clannad, and it was a bittersweet moment because I think it was March of 2020, and we all kind of know what happened. And I think you were just embarking on a world tour, and you kindly said to me and my pal, well, you thought I was bringing my wife, didn't you? But I brought another pal of ours.
He's your other wife.
Yeah. Well, I see more of him than I do.
It's your gig wife.
Yeah. And he was like, "Oh, you brought him."
Win. Yeah. Biggest monster player, man.
Biggest drunk in North Wales, but also, an excellent guitarist.
Yeah.
And obviously, you were just about to embark on a world tour, and we'd had a chat with you. He's like, "Yeah, we can't wait anyway. We'll see you in 2 years, whatever it might be."
Yeah.
And pretty much 2 gigs after that, that was it.
For us all, yeah.
But I don't want to dwell on COVID because that's hopefully that end now.
Yeah.
But the thing, I mean, I've loved Clannad since I was a kid, since the Robin Hood thing, and it was what's this?
Yeah.
And I remember sitting watching it, and Wynn's got a great musical ear, as you know, and he went, "The drums are a bit quiet, and it's not hitting them very hard." And I went, "Yeah, I think it's called building the show. Wait till he gets."
Patience.
Yeah, and then I think there was a brief interval from what I remember. Came back, and it was like, and he just looked, and it was like, "Oh, there it is," and it was like beautiful, building up to the not the poppiest. Well, I suppose you would call it the poppier end of things.
Yeah, I mean, their spectrum is really quite wide.
Yeah,
and from ethereal to kind of, storms and stuff. But again, for me, it's voice led. It's Moya.
Oh, just absolutely incredible, and the harmonies.
Kieran's a monster of a bass player.
Oh, haunting.
And Moya's again. I'm in pieces when Moya starts.
And the orchestral bass drum, I was in pieces when that started.
Yeah, we used to go for structural damage. That was the front of house. I'm sure we wanted to leave a kind of a mark on the building.
I think I lost a few fillings during that gig.
Yeah. Thanks to Premier for the orchestral bass drum. Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, that was a treat because they've been so kind to me, Premier, over the years. As Odeon.
I wanted to kind of finish with Premier. Obviously, a great British brand. I mean, I know things are slightly different now, but the great thing is Premier is still there, still making drums. But do you know you have been, unlike many other drummers, you've been an incredibly loyal endorsee or endorser, whichever way that I always
I've
get it
never
right.
worked out which one it is.
Whichever one it is,
Yeah,
you've been
yeah.
incredibly loyal to the brand. You'd not, and I know you don't ask anything of them, really.
Oh, I kind of do, but that the
Yeah,
orchestral bass for me.
but not, yeah, but
Yeah,
in the grand scheme, and
I don't like to fuss. Yeah, I know what you mean.
no,
Yeah.
and so I have to say that I think it's pretty incredible that you've. I mean, how long have you been with Premier now?
That's a great question. I
Are we
think
talking
since,
Black Grape era or before?
yeah. I think 96
Yeah. See,
since 96 when they gave me a Genista. But again, it's one of those because I think people relate to this of our age.
mm,
There was only Premier really when we and I used to, I don't know how you'd get hold of a leaflet and play the got not got, and it was mainly not got not got not want not got not. And so for me in 90 whatever it was when they said, and I'm terrible, I can't remember exactly the details, but they said, "Do you want to come down to the factory and get a drum set?" It's like, oh, Premier, yeah, of course, wow. And again, I've probably said this in interviews, but just saying, "Can I have one of those?" And they went, "Yeah. Can I have 4 of those?" Yeah. Oh my god, it's like kind of because I was such a hick, you know what I mean? A kid from the sticks. So yeah, that again, that's one of those moments, and so yeah, I being with Premier is sort of, it's just righteous, man. It's yeah, and I know there are lots of reasons why people change their
yeah.
their deals, and that's fabulous. No judgment from me, anyway.
Oh,
But just for me, it's kind of yeah.
it's just nice to see that loyalty, and the drums. Whenever I've heard you, whether it be footage from YouTube, we're playing with Peter, them big rollicking tom sounds in the beginning of Salisbury Hill. I mean, I don't think you'll hear better sounding drums anywhere than that. Doom, 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 oh, it's huge.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I could go into stuff with it, but yeah, they just, it makes me really happy every
Yeah.
time. You know what I mean? And I still use my Genista. Got way too many snares. Yeah, no, it's and equally I'm still got some of the vintage stuff, like the Lockfasts and stuff.
They do the job, don't they? They're just
Yeah.
great. Um, but it's just nice to see. I mean, and Zildjian, you've been with Zildjian a long time as well, haven't you? So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, that access to all those different voices.
Yeah.
The gongs and the darker stuff.
Yeah.
It's yeah. Really, I'm very grateful to all those guys for that stuff.
Well, you've put it to good use.
Don't take it for granted.
You've played on so many albums, and I was on Discogs before, and it's like, oh my god, look at this, look at these names. Hanson came up, and it's like, my
Oh yeah,
they
were great, man. We did that in Los Angeles. Yeah, that was great.
So what was the
first time I ever?
Obviously, Hanson are a band. Were you just doing like bits and pieces, or how did that work?
Yeah, I mean, it was just because the drummer was Zach, the drummer.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, Zach was wee. You know what I mean? He was a real wee bear. And I just think for making a record, it was just adding a little bit of support. So it was a perk and drums thing, and just being, just giving the producers another tool. When you're making a record, sometimes this needs to be
on it.
This,
yeah,
or just an energy thing. If you're a 7-year-old, is like, that's a different vibe. You know what I mean? Sings like an angel, but no. But again, mad musicians when they were in a room together, it was like, oh, go on,
crazy,
it's great. But yeah, they just wanted some kind of workman-like stuff going on when you're making records.
And before we go, right, there's one more album which I am and was a massive In Excess fan, and you did the Michael Hutchence solo album.
Yeah.
Sadly, he never saw released.
No,
very sadly.
Yeah, that was a real, because I mean, the story that I really remember was it was with Danny Saber and gang. What's the other producer? He was fantastic. He's passed away relatively recently. Forgive me. Might need to drop that in. Andy Gill.
Oh yeah.
And they said, "Oh, can you just give us a guide vocal?" He just went, yeah, sure. Just went out into the live room and just grabbed the bass drum mic off a kit that was there, not my kit. He just he never used to do apparently didn't do vocal takes with the headphones on and the pop shield and the booth. He just did it like he was doing a gig. So it was a performance as much as a vocal performance. It was off the scale, man. Not a guide vocal. We'll be keeping that then. That's not just like, and this is the chorus, no, this was something to really play to and respond to. And Michael was it was properly the real deal. Yeah.
That guy
was, absolute, again, a sweetheart.
Yeah. A total and utter rock star from start to finish. If you've ever seen.
But really, sorry, forgive me.
No, you imagine rock star, the great voice, the looks, the personality. You just see a vision of him, and that's
yeah. He was the real deal. But he was a real gentle soul. In the studio, it wasn't. He was just we're getting on with this, and it sounded great. And it's a shame.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it. Did it come out a year or two after he passed away, and just.
You'll forgive. I don't know.
Yeah, it's such a great album as well. It's really
I do remember enjoying it and it being part of a journey he was on to establish himself as a solo artist. But obviously, bless him.
Yeah, very sad, very sad. But a nice legacy to leave, and nice to know you've played a part of his, his history and back catalogue, which is there forever. And do you know what? There's so much more we could talk about, but it's getting late.
We'll do a pint, yeah.
And maybe it's took me 4 years to convince you to do this, so maybe in 4 years we could do a part 2. Who knows?
You'll forgive me. I'm sorry.
Ged, listen. I hope it wasn't too traumatic for you.
You've been very gentle, and I've forgotten that we're being filmed and recorded. And
that's the best way. You see,
So if I've said anything untoward,
I'm sure you haven't. Put it that way.
We'll check it.
We'll check it anyway. But look, honestly, mate, what a joyful. I don't know, hour and 20 minutes it's gone. I said I can't and I always lie about that. It's just it just goes.
No.
So there we go.
Thank you so much, darling. You're so kind.
Thank you, Ged. See you soon, mate. Bye-bye.
Be safe.